Hey, hey, my illustrious Paswa snappers! Oh yeah, we snap, we don't clap. It is your slice of Yogatry, and this is where it's at. Today we'll be talking about children, and I wrote you something. Children, not a care in the world. Lizards and bugs, slugs and girls, everything goes under the rug. Spilled milk and glass half full. I push, you pull. The most popular kid in school. Jansport backpacks, nurses ice packs. Lisa Frank stickers peel quicker than scratch and sniffers. Dole whip, juice box, Birkenstock slippers. San Diego Clippers, ferry boats, and Seaport Village. I never do my homework, 'cause I'm an avid professional procrastinator. Children. If you get inspired and feel the fire, write something about children. Write about what it felt like to be a kid when you were growing up. Things that you saw, things that you tasted, things that you smelled, things that you heard. Remember how magical it all once was when you were a child? How brilliant those colors jumped around you? Oh, the wonder of being young. Je me souviens. I love you guys so much. Hope you guys enjoy these clips. Keep writing right now.
Poetry is a way to express yourself. You can do it through many ways and forms.
Poetry can be expressed through song, word, or even a play.
Today, we will show you our team poem entitled, If You Give a Child a Word.
If you give a child a word, he'll want to know its meaning. Once he learns its meaning, show him how to use it in a poem.
And when he writes the poem, then he'll want to share it, and people will want to read it. That will make the child feel warm, loved, and valued. Then he'll want another word. Word.
Never underestimate yourself. You could possibly miss your true power, beauty, talent, and strength. Just like a clue to a mystery. It could be right in your face, but you are too shy or oblivious to see it. Never underestimate yourself. Never underestimate me.
Creation. It's not just a thrown out word. It uses the mind. Creating, oh, I'm pretty sure we all can do it. I can do it.
You can do it.
We can do it. We all can do it. Through words. Now we will show you our individual poems.
My poem is entitled, Now You See Me. As I look around, I feel so lost. All I want to do is be found. People walk past me, walk on by. It's like they don't see me or even meet my eye. I don't want to feel this way. No, I don't want to be this way. I want to be seen. I want to be heard. Every cry, every scream, it's like they're deaf to every word. So I ask you, do you feel this way? Yes, do you feel this way? If so, listen to me now. Listen real good. Because today, on this very night, I shall teach you how not to feel this way. All you have to do is speak loud and proud. No, not low and mild. Loud and proud. Yes, indeed. Guarantee you shall be heard and you shall be seen.
My poem is entitled, You Just Don't Know. There's a time when you must share. No more games. See, I'm not sitting here anymore like the invisible man because it's time to share my testimony and show the world who I really am. For you don't know what I go through if I told you I was riding down the street one day and began to laugh at the woman using the restroom on the side of the road. I took a double take and saw these familiar features. For you don't know what I go through if I told you the man that I call father is incarcerated and has never even simply told me I love you. Don't know what I go through. Now you're probably sitting here thinking, wow, he must be going through it. All because of one decision they made to ruin their lives. Night to night, constantly drowning myself into the thought that everything will be okay when the truth is, it's not. So I put on this fake smile to show it's okay. So I walk with my head held high in this fake smile to show that you too can make it through. You just don't know.
When I have a son, I'll tell him that life is beautiful, that dreams make it more meaningful, that life is what you make of it, bubbles or castles, but must realize he's the one to live in it. That life is a race, and only fools sit, watch, and don't make haste. That life is full of lessons, and those who learn faster enjoy the blessings. I'll tell him that life never ends until we stop to love, and sometimes we rise and fall, but the fall is not the end until we say so. I'll tell him about his father's worst nightmare, that he'll become like any man, a victim of his past and his fears, a glutton for memories of old glory days. I'll teach him freedom, to learn to forgive himself and not give others what he won't give himself. I'll teach him how to fight with words and win with silence, how to say no to violence, how surrender can be power, despite the taste of shame is sour. I'll teach him to stay cheerful, to smile in tough times, 'cause after the rain comes sunshine. I'll tell him that life is beautiful, but people are crazy. So regarding friends, he must always be choosy. I'll teach him to hear and listen and the difference, to distill the facts from noise and refuse to let lies infest his mind. I'll teach him the meaning of love, how to care and share, but stay watchful for those who desire to break his heart and trample on the pieces. I'll tell him that mistakes are part of being human, but those who get fond of them end up in yesterday. That some friends are meant for some days and others for every day. I'll tell him that the glass may be half empty or full, but it matters only what he believes. That time and time again he must choose the things that count, time over money, pounds over pennies, even when the world mocks him and calls him a teddy. I'll teach him science and math and history, the nature of his hair, the shape of his nose, the color of his skin, what it does and does not mean. That the world would always sell him another version of himself, but mediocrity is buying it and selling the lie that you were meant to be it. I'll teach him how to script his words, how to paint them with the color of his mind, but light enough for the world to understand, and to always be himself, for sometimes the world can feel like a marketplace of fakes. The life is full of excuses, so it's needless making them, but he can if he chooses. I'll tell him that life is easy, but the lessons are hard to learn, especially which breed to cross and which to burn. That with or without him, kings would rise and fall, birds would sing their song, because life will always go on. I'll teach him to be peaceful, respectful, kind and honest, but not to expect that in return for what we can only guarantee is our own turn. Because the world is full of choices and differences, some too hard to mentally process, but it's okay, for there's nothing to understand about madness. I'll tell him that life is a play, and there are two kinds of people on stage, the real and the wannabes, and from a distance the difference is clear to see. I'll teach him to accept change and be willing to change, but know that some things in life never change, like gravity, like sunrise and sunset, like love, like truth. Regardless of the time of day, the year, the place remains the same. When I have a son, I'll tell him about the day he was born and sing to him a song I love. I'll tell him that life is beautiful, just how Daddy dreamt it for him.
No child left behind. At entrance of a West Philadelphia high school, officer with gun perched on each waist asked me if I have any weapons.
I hold up my book. He doesn't find that funny.
Tells me to empty pockets, walk through metal detector, 8:03 a.m. I wait for 2 students to pass through first. Already, I wonder what they have learned. I heard the newly built prison a few miles away bought their test scores as wallpaper. But we say,
no child left behind, because it's a slogan for the slick, who co-opt a principle as old as the pyramids, then draft them onto t-shirts. Sell your grandmother's dedication back to you for $14.99. Stand on political platforms and speak that shit into megaphones to convince you that you have not heard it before, like your mama did not work 3 jobs and average 2 hours of sleep a night so you would not be left behind. Like your daddy didn't stop drinking, teach you how to drive, show you how to fight, gave you lunch money when he didn't have it to give so you would not be left behind. No child left behind. There's a bumper sticker,
a caption,
an empty slogan with no room for imagination.
So I asked them if they have dreams. 11 students raised their hands barely above their shoulders as if they were sitting in history class unsure of the right answer. Yep. One student in the first row named Luciano is waiting for me to tell him what page to turn to. Another student in the 8th row is trying to decide if this is a trick question. There's no right answer, I say, but they are far too comfortable with the right to remain silent.
See, we hunker down in dimly lit classrooms and memorize some shit about Lincoln freeing slaves.
Oh, yeah?
With a magical document called an Emancipation Proclamation. You feed us the rotten fruit of untold stories, then penalize us when we'd rather be gangsters. Then listen to another nifty little tale about George Washington Carver and his innovation with that peanut. See, there's nothing threatening about the etymology of Jiffy, but you talk to us about Haiti and we might remember the fire in our bellies.
I'm escorted to an auditorium where there are 130 Black and Latino students.
We talk about hip-hop.
They think poetry is what old white people do. I tell them my favorite poem is Miss Fat Booty,
'cause I like the storytelling. Yeah.
They giggle as if they're still kids.
Because kids these days tie poetry to a chair and they torture it with bad hip-hop.
They
flog and they beat it. They trick and BET it. Deny it food, water, and light. Figure out how to booty shake to it.
Hire a video vixen for it.
Get Lil John to remix it. Chop and then screw it. No child left behind. Even when the culture is sick, we don't do it.
The first time I read a book by a Latina author was in college. Yep. The wind in my chest stood up. It had been 18 long years of textbooks filled with everything but me. Yep. For the first time, my body knew a world that could hold it. See, the quickest way to silence a mouth is to treat it as if none had come before.
There are thousands of unreported lynchings that happen in American classrooms each year. The victims are between the ages of 5 and 19. They are black and brown and gay and poor and different and other and not enough and too much. Round pegs in square classrooms. Children suffering for not being who we want them to be, for having voices too loud,
accents too thick,
pockets too thin, for classrooms to honor us just as we are.
When is it time to talk about it? After Sandy Hook, when 26 lives were took, the politicians shook their heads and said we shouldn't talk about it. Our nation grieved. They gave their prayers and sent their tweets, but they didn't want to talk about it. We can't politicize this, they said. 20 kids are dead. We have to lay them to rest before we talk about it. Like it was honoring their deaths more to once again ignore the very reasons, but we didn't want to talk about it. And you could take the rhetoric and switch the tragedy. I couldn't tell the difference, which is obvious insanity, but I was just as culpable for what I didn't do or say, because honestly, it hurt too much. I didn't want to talk about it. Well, now I want to talk about it. Private guns have killed more Americans since 1960 than all of our wars combined. Now, personally, that's a statistic that completely blows my mind. Or what about the number of our gun-related homicides? It's higher than any other developed country by 20 times. And that's not only crimes, because on the average, roughly 33,000 people every year lose their lives. If that was terrorism, we would lose our minds. If that's not terrorism, we have lost our minds. In fact, maybe terrorism should be redefined, because mass shootings have become a sign of modern times. When do we draw the line? When do we grow a spine and stop using the Second Amendment to hide behind? You want to keep your guns, that's perfectly fine. I'm not arguing to take them away unless you're hunting lions. And yet the NRA accuses me of lying. Like secretly, I'm trying. That way they change the conversation from the people dying. It's really evil. I am tired of this misleading line they're feeding to the media. The talking points are really just excuses to be greedier, and Congress won't do their jobs because lobbyists have paid them off, so they ignore the problems that they're there to solve. Public service has a private interest when campaign contributions make them liable to the parties that contribute. It's a form of paying tribute, but the dollars make no sense. How can a background check be something that we're against? If the prevailing argument is it's about our mental health, then it's illogical to think that regulations wouldn't help. And while the left and right fight, both are dying in between. It's not the red, white, and blue. It's the red, white, and green. I can't take an open water bottle on a plane, but I can walk around Nevada with an AR-15. Can't you hear the children scream? Can't you hear the children scream? Can't you hear the children? Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them scream? You're on the wrong side of history. There is no in-between. When you look back in 20 years, tell me who you want to be. Can't you hear the children? Can't you hear them? Can't you hear them scream? It echoes through the halls of schools that were replaced by crime scenes. Can't you see the children? Can't you see them? Can't you see them bleed? Can't you see their parents seeing them in each and every dream? When the news vans have left and they're left with quiet streets and private grief, but they can't leave, they can't leave, they can't leave. So they count the seconds, minutes, hours, days, and nights and weeks, dealing with a pain so deep that it's awake inside of sleep. It's in their bones and in their smiles and in their hair and in their speech. And in the morning they remember tears streaming down their cheeks, chest heaving from the morning. It's impossible to breathe. And at that point, it doesn't matter what you once believed. We have let a special interest hold us hostage over greed, but it's in our hands, so why are we the ones that have to freeze? Don't move anything. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Don't change anything.